The 2008 Formula One Drivers' Championship remains one of the most controversial in the sport's history and is still hotly debated to this day. It seems Felipe Massa remains determined to challenge the outcome of the 2008 Formula One World Championship due to the Crashgate controversy. Even after all these years, Massa believes that there was an injustice surrounding that season's outcome. Massa's stance on this issue has led him to consider taking legal action to address what he perceives as an unfair situation. Can Massa win this case? Stay tuned as we dig deeper. Felipe Massa seeks compensation from F1 for losing the 2008 title to seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. The Brazilian was narrowly beaten to the title 15 years ago and believes the controversial Singapore Grand Prix cost him the championship. His lawyers have started legal action against Formula One bosses and the FIA, seeking substantial damages resulting from an alleged conspiracy that denied him the championship that season. The letter before claim said the Brazilian, now 42, was robbed of the title through actions at the highest level that cost him tens of millions of pounds in lost earnings and bonuses. It said that Massa had instructed lawyers in Britain, Brazil, the United States, Switzerland, and France. A letter before claim is a required formal legal notice before court proceedings can be initiated. As seen by the Reuters agency, which received it from the London offices of Enyo Law on August 15th, the letter stated that, simply put, Mr. Massa is the rightful 2008 Drivers' Champion, and F1 and the FIA deliberately ignored the misconduct that cheated him out of that title. Mr. Massa is unable to fully quantify his losses at this stage, but estimates that they are likely to exceed tens of millions of euros. This amount does not cover the serious moral and reputational losses suffered by Mr. Massa. The letter was addressed to Formula One Chief Executive Stefano Domenicali, previously Massa's team boss at Ferrari, and the FIA's president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. It warned that in the absence of a substantive reply within 14 days, the lawyers anticipate being instructed to commence legal proceedings in the English courts without further notice to you. Like the infamous 2021 Drivers' Championship, which was decided on the final lap of the season between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, the 2008 campaign also came down to the final corner of the calendar. Massa came across the line to win his home race, the Brazilian Grand Prix, in the season's final race, and he believed the victory was enough to secure the title. However, in stark contrast to 2021, Hamilton executed a pass on the final turn of the season, getting by Timo Glock of Toyota to finish fifth. That was enough to see Hamilton win the Drivers' Championship by a single point, which was his first championship title in just 2 years in the sport. Yet since 2009, Massa has maintained he was the true champion that season, given the discussion that unfolded at the Belgian Grand Prix a year later. This was after an F1 controversy that came to be known as Crashgate, which made Massa believe that he was the rightful champion. Stirring that up is Chief Executive Bernie Ecclestone's claim this year that he and then FIA President Max Mosley were aware of a potential breach during the 2008 campaign and decided not to do anything. That revelation has left Massa looking at possible legal avenues to challenge the season's outcome. Now he's bringing that belief to court. Why though? It has been 15 long years, but he has a point. Considering the tens of millions at stake, would you take it to court like Massa? Massa considers action over the 2008 Singapore GP injustice. Following Ecclestone's comments, it's really injustice, and I think definitely we need to study everything that happened, because it's not fair what has happened. Massa has called for further investigations into the injustice surrounding the outcome of the 2008 Formula One World Championship. Given that Hamilton topped Massa by a single point, 98 to 97, you might believe that Massa's complaint stems from the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, which took place in early November. Entering the final race of the season, Hamilton was in first place with 94 points, with Massa in second place, just 7 points behind. Yet Massa still had a path to the title. A win at home, coupled with a sixth-place finish from Hamilton, or even worse, would bag him the Drivers' Champion. But with Hamilton's last corner pass of Glock, it was enough to come across the line fifth, giving him the title by a single point. However, Massa's allegations stem not from the Brazilian Grand Prix, but rather from the Singapore Grand Prix, which took place in September and was the 15th of the 18 races that year. It was not only the first F1 race in Singapore, but it was also the first race in the history of the sport to take place at night. Entering the inaugural Singapore Grand Prix, Hamilton had just a 1-point lead over Massa in the drivers' standings. With Massa qualifying on pole and Hamilton set to start behind him in second, Massa had a great opportunity to retake the lead in the standings. However, Massa ended up finishing P13 and outside of the points due to a disastrous pit stop early in the race. He had built a lead of over 3 seconds on Hamilton, but on lap 14, Renault's Nelson Piquet Jr. lost control at turn 17 and ran into the wall. Piquet initially blamed his hard tyres for the mistake, citing driver error. A safety car came out and nearly the entire grid came down pit lane, including Massa. However, the team released him too early and the Ferrari driver roared out of the pits with the fueling line still attached, and the championship was decided. From the moment the driver receives the Champions Trophy, things can no longer be changed. A year later, it was discovered that Piquet Jr. deliberately crashed at the Singapore GP, helping his Renault teammate Fernando Alonso win. But it was proven a theft. At the time, Ferrari's lawyers told me about this rule. We went to other lawyers, and the answer was that nothing could be done. I logically believed in this situation, and after 15 years, we hear that the former owner of the category says that he found out in 2008, together with the president of the FIA, and they did nothing to not tarnish the name of F1. This is very sad. You know something was stolen. The result of this race was supposed to be cancelled, and I would have a title. In the end, I was the one who lost the most with this result, said a frustrated Massa. Do you think Massa will win this case? Well, it's true that if you simply declare the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix a nullity, as Ecclestone apparently conceded was an option, then Massa would be the drivers' champion of 2008. However, another option would have been to simply disqualify Renault from that race, which would have resulted in Hamilton actually winning the drivers' title by 2 points. But what if there were other opportunities for Massa and Ferrari to overcome the events of Singapore that season? Perhaps a clean pit stop back in 2008? Don't you think it could be the biggest opportunity? Well, picture this. If Massa did not pull away with the fuel hose attached, he would have picked up a point or two in that race, if not winning it outright, and that would have been enough at the end of the season. While it might not be a clean comparison, there is a legal doctrine used when the two parties are at fault, with the defendant having the chance to avoid the ultimate incident. In simple terms, let's say a plaintiff has tied a donkey along the side of a road, and the defendant speeds by on a wagon at a high rate of speed, striking and killing the donkey. Although both parties have some level of fault for tying the donkey close to the road and speeding, the defendant had a chance to avoid the donkey. In this example, the defendant was ultimately at fault. One could make the same argument here, with a slight twist though. After all, even if F1 knew shortly after the events of Singapore about the reason behind the crash, all Ferrari needed to do was execute a clean pit stop, and Massa could be the 2008 drivers' champion. Now, whether that will end up being a determinant remains to be seen. After all, this incident needs the best lawyers, and isn't going to cost a dime. This clearly shows the complex nature of Formula One, where the outcomes of races and championships can often be influenced by a myriad of factors beyond pure performance. The Singapore Grand Prix controversy, while raising questions about fairness and strategy, ultimately underscores the dynamic and unpredictable essence of motorsports. Decisions made both on and off the track can shape the course of history, leaving us to ponder the what-ifs that could have rewritten championship narratives. With that, what do you think will happen if Massa wins the case? Share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for the latest F1 news. Bye.